we're going to discuss to trim or not to trim. What we have here is a full brisket. It's got both the flat and the point up here, and there's just a little extra fat. Now, a lot of people say fat is where the flavor is, and they're right. But we're going to take and trim some of the fat because we got way too much on this one. We've got fat that is not going to melt, so it's not doing us any favors. So first of all, you need to take a really sharp knife. Now, I like this particular knife. It's not the best for trimming, but it's really sharp, and I like the way that it's got the front curve. So I'm going to take off this flap here that it's not going to do anything for us. I'm just going to provide some chewiness at the end product. We're either going to be trimming it off later, or your guest is going to be trimming it off, and neither one is an ideal. So next, we've got this big layer of fat right here. Now, the majority of this on this particular brisket is fat, and it's a hard fat. You can't squeeze it, you can't do anything to it. So we're going to take and we're going to do just a linear cut here, and we're going to take a good 1/2 inch of this fat off. And we're doing that because it's not doing us any favors. It's just all fat all the way down. And you just trim the bulk of the fat. You still want a nice layer of fat on there, obviously, because we do want some flavor that the fat imparts. But we're taking a lot of weight off of this brisket, which is going to do a couple things. It's actually going to help us cook a little faster, and we're going to have a nicer end product. Now, I made a little bit too much of a cut back here, and I'm just going to show you what I mean here. Right here, I took up and I got, right next to the meat, but you'll see this is still a thick layer of fat. So we're going to trim a little bit off this middle section here, because we want the fat layer there, but we don't want it to be too thick and create something chewy and gummy for our end user. Now, a lot of people think this is a sacrilege. You should never trim brisket. I disagree, obviously. And now that we've taken off most of the fat that we need to take off on this side, except for this little chunk here, we can get her out of the way. We're going to flip. And we got one piece of fat on this side. This is really hard stuff. It's not going to melt. We're going to take just a bit of that there and make something. We're going to make a nice product for our guest at the end as we send a little flying. Luckily, it didn't go off the table, because we don't want the dogs to get that either. Alright, so now we have a nice trimmed brisket, and we're going to use a rub. Now, this rub is a nice simple rub that I threw together. It's kind of a flavor that I like. It's a little garlic, a little onion, some salt, and some pepper. That's it. We're going to really let the taste of this brisket shine, but we're going to add a little of those things that kind of make the flavor just that much better. I'm going to lay it on liberally. And then you remember, this is called a rub, so you got to rub it in. And we want to get the whole thing. Now there is some discussion on whether or not you should split the point and the flat. I like to do them all at once. The point actually gives a nice layer of insulation. The way my smoker is, the heat's going to come from this direction, so the point's going to give us a nice little insulation so that everything comes together exactly the way I want it to. And I'm going to go a little bit more liberally on this side just because I'm wanting that fat to actually carry some of this flavor into the brisket as it melts, and just kind of give us a really nice end flavor. Like I said, you gotta rub. This is gonna help make it stick so that it doesn't come off in our resting process, because we are gonna rest for a couple hours. We're going to take this back inside. We're going to put it in the fridge so it can rest for at least a couple hours to a full day before we actually put it on the smoker. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you grill at home or you barbecue at home, it's always going to be better because you can make it exactly the way that you like it. It's an experimentation process, so learn, play, and just have fun. That's what it's all about.